Hi, I'm Tessa McKenzie, Life Design Educator for your department here at Johns Hopkins University. And if you're like me, you're working remotely right now. And maybe you are jumping up and down because this is where you thrive. And maybe, like me, this is cause for a bit of concern. Maybe you are living with grandma and your parents. Maybe you have siblings running around, or you're in an off-campus apartment, or even in your dorm with a roommate. No matter where you are, there are certain challenges that exist to working remotely that may not exist if you are in a library or if you're studying in Brody. So how do we overcome these challenges and create schedules, create routines that can work for us while at home? That's the aim of this conversation today. And in case you're struggling to figure out that routine for you, I wanted to take this opportunity and really lean on the 6 stages of design thinking that are tried and true from helping people get from where they are to where they want to be. So hopefully you're familiar with the 6 stages of design thinking. If you're not, let's do a quick overview. So the first stage here is to accept or understand where you are, to observe or to empathize with where you are, to define or identify the problem, to ideate solutions, to prototype those solutions, and in this case, to prototype your 3 ideal routines while working remotely, and then also to test out those routines to see what works, to see what doesn't, and to refine as necessary. So the first step here is to accept where you are. That might be difficult. Maybe right now you really can't leave the house and you're doing most things from a relatively confined space. Maybe it's a little loud where you are, or there are just so many distractions it's really hard to focus. That's okay. There are absolutely things that you can control in this or in any situation that can help you to achieve those personal, those professional, those academic goals that you're hoping to. The next step here is to empathize with yourself. And I think that this is a really cool concept. Notably, because you're probably used to empathizing with other groups of people or empathizing with friends. I'm encouraging you to practice a little self-love here and to empathize with yourself. What does that mean? Well, as a first step, I want you to take out a piece of paper and a pencil. And I want you to do an inventory of what you've been up to today. Did you get up early, get up late? Did you make breakfast? Did you exercise, meditate, study, watch TV, read, work? What were you up to today? Take a quick inventory so that you can better understand your own situation. If you're struggling with this concept, I'd encourage you to download an app called Rescue Time. There are tools out there that can help you identify where you're devoting the most focus. The next step here is to identify the problem. So we've already done an inventory of what you're doing. So I'm wondering what sticks out to you. Are there things on that list that really work for you? And things on that list that are not productive, are not healthy, are not helpful to you during this time. Let's use this as an opportunity to lean into what works and lead out of what doesn't. Also, let's identify the areas that maybe aren't working for you, but that you need to work for you. For example, maybe you need to apply for that cohort program at another university. Maybe there is an internship application due in a few weeks. It's my hope that you can now take that inventoried list that you have, circle all of the strengths, all of the things that are really working for you on that list. Star the things that are priorities for you and cross out the things on that list that are not working for you and that are not worth your time. Things that we can nix and not worry about ideating solutions for. Essentially, let's figure out what works and what doesn't, lean into the things that do and out of the things that don't. If this is something that you're struggling with, again, another app that I really love is called MindNode. If you've had the pleasure of working with any of my colleagues at the Life Design Lab, we love to mind map. And MindNode is a really cool tool that you can use to essentially mind map and organize your thoughts regarding what you're doing and what you could be doing. The next step in the design thinking process is to ideate solutions. So here, I want you to take what you've identified regarding what doesn't work and consider areas that give you energy, but that maybe you haven't considered before. So go crazy. Don't think about the limitations that exist right now in regards to time or space or loudness or distractions or travel. Go crazy and think about things like having enhanced time for emails, taking care of pets or family, reading books that you enjoy, making time to study for work. Maybe it's coding, maybe it's research. Maybe you want to ride your bike or surf the internet. Maybe you are creative and want to draw or play music, or maybe you have student employment of some sort, or any kind of employment. Cooking. How are you, or how could you potentially be spending your time in a way that fuels your creativity and addresses areas that you're curious about in a way that can also provide energy for you? Let's ideate some solutions, particularly in those areas where you know that they're priorities to you, you really want to be focusing on them, but you are just really struggling to carry the ball down the court right now. It's not a part of your routine and you know it needs to be. So for example, I know that I need to be having a lot of conversations with coworkers right now. Maybe you have team projects and it is a challenge for you to get together with team members or a lab group. Something that I've found that's been really helpful is that I know I need to be outside. I want to be walking. I want to be fueling my body, my mind, my soul. But I also need to be in conversation with these people that I love and work with and accomplishing things. So one of the solutions that I've been able to ideate for myself is to step away from email a little bit more and to encourage more phone calls during this time of working remotely. And in fact, I'm doing those phone calls during times that I have squared away each day for walking meetings. This might not be ideal for everyone, but right now I am finding a time to be grounded with nature and exercise, as well as devote really quiet, intentional time to my colleagues during those walking meetings. For me, that was a solution that was addressing many of the problems that I was finding in my current remote schedule. So what solutions might exist for you? Next, we have taken the time to inventory what you were currently doing, identify what worked, what didn't, and what we needed to work on and what we needed to get rid of. In terms of those areas that were problematic, we've now ideated solutions so that you could identify your strengths and where you get the most energy, where you're in flow, and try to think about ways where you could potentially address some of those problem areas for yourself while kind of fueling off of the energy of those areas that for you are most powerful and refueling. Next here, let's prototype some routines. So again, with that paper and pencil, let's make a list for yourself. Put paper to pencil and think about 3 different routines for you that might enable you to accomplish those things that you're hoping to during this time. So I know for me, right now, it's really important that I am, like I said, exercising, that I'm staying connected with the family members that I care so much about, especially the vulnerable family members that I have during this time. That I am enjoying that TV, those podcasts, those books that are just enjoyable and carefree. That's a part of my wellness. That I'm finding time to meditate. That I'm using resources like the Calm app that all of us at Hopkins have access to. These could all be parts of your solutions and parts of your prototyped routines. So I'm going to encourage you to take a few minutes and come up with 3 separate routines where you are incorporating the things that you love, the things you gotta do, and maybe some things you're curious about. And also maybe some of these solutions that you've considered for helping you to move forward with some of those social, professional, academic, well-being related goals. If you're struggling with any of this, I'm going to recommend that you actually look into Gretchen Rubin. So I don't know if you're familiar with the book, The Happiness Project, that came out a while back, but Gretchen Rubin continues to put forward really cool routines and quick 5-minute resources that can help you to take care of your well-being, but also structure your life in a really practical way. So now's your chance. Think of 3 routines that can help you to accomplish some of your goals while working remotely. Finally, it's time to test those out. Give yourself space to test out your various routines. Make time to do activities that are restoring your energy like we discussed. But most importantly here, I want to mention, please have grace with yourself. So you are a Johns Hopkins University student. You clearly have excelled at rigorous coursework and are exceptionally competent. You're used to doing well, and you've worked hard. This may be a time where you have to try certain things out and work in a very different way. That's okay. Have grace with yourself while working remotely. Try things out, and if they don't work, tweak them. And also, please remember your campus resources again. If you're struggling in any way to accomplish the work that you need to, or not just to accomplish your work, but you are struggling academically, professionally, emotionally, please remember that there are campus resources available to you. And don't be afraid to reach out and utilize those during this time. Have a little grace with yourself, especially when your schedule has been thrown upside down and you're working from your front porch. One thing I wanted to mention before I conclude this conversation is that I have been trying to practice this myself. I would love to hear from you regarding what routines are working. Let's keep this conversation going. In terms of my own routines, some things that I found to be really helpful is that I'm getting up in the morning before the rest of my family. I'm showering, I am making sure that I am wearing clean, semi-professional clothing and trying to act as though I'm going into the office to make sure that I am starting off my day in a way that's giving me the best chance for success. I'm also a big fan of something called the Pomodoro technique. So the Pomodoro technique is when you work in 25-minute chunks and give yourself 5 minutes to break after each chunk of time. So you're doing one 25-minute Pomodoro and a 5-minute break, another 25 minutes of work and a 5-minute break, another 25 minutes of work and a 5-minute break. And after the fourth one, you're actually taking a 15 to 20-minute break. This technique has been shown to increase productivity, but also to be a really healthy way to check in with yourself and make sure that you're not overextending and going back to your work with more energy and focus. There are a lot of apps that can help you with the Pomodoro effect. I just use a kitchen timer that looks like a tomato. Finally, I wanted to mention that in terms of the group work I've talked about, I found it really helpful to schedule those group meetings at about 10 o'clock in the morning, pretty early in the day, so that I'm being held accountable to somebody and I am starting things efficiently and setting myself up the rest of the day with kind of follow-up action items. I don't know if any of that will be helpful for you, but I really hope it is. And let's make sure to stay in touch, especially through Twitter. Please follow the Life Design Lab and follow me. My handle is @TessaMcKenzie15. And looking forward to being in touch. Stay well.